time travel, a pandemic, and Elvis Presley's yearbook. Three things you'd never expect to be on a list together, and yet here we are. The reason? This brand new novel. An ocean of minutes is plunging readers into a wild ride through time in order to hopefully save a life. Here to explain it all is author Thea Lim. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, you had me at time travel, but the book is so much more than that, isn't it?
Thank you.
Break it down for us. Tell us about An Ocean of Minutes.
So it's 1981, and there's an outbreak of a virulent flu, and Frank gets sick. And his girlfriend, Polly, is desperate to save him, and she hears that if she takes a job elsewhere, the company will pay for his medical costs. It's one thing that she discovers is that elsewhere is actually 12 years in the future. But she says, I'll meet you on the other side. I'll see you there. But when she gets to the other side, something has gone wrong. She's 5 years late, and he's not there.
So listen, I mean, like I said, you had me at time travel, but the best time travel books I find are the ones that use it as a device to tell a more significant story.
Right,
it's not. It shouldn't be an end. It should be a means. Was that the device for you?
Yeah. So what it turned into, which was kind of unexpected for me, but it turned into an analogy for immigration. And then I was like a little stressed because it seemed sort of obvious.
Yeah.
And I felt like I got to write faster in case someone scoops me. But the reason why it seemed obvious is because when people immigrate, they lose not just place, not just proximity to kind of their familiar places, but also time, because all these ideas they had about what their life would look like, it all shifts, it disappears, and it feels like a death.
Oh, that's the same thing happened to my grandfather when he came over from Yugoslavia. He was a doctor, a medical doctor, and when he came back, he had to learn everything again. He had to go back to school and take that big step back in time.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, how does Elvis and his yearbook make an appearance in this book?
Well, so partly what I was trying to do was to seed in cultural references that were familiar to all of us, because the book is so much about nostalgia, and I wanted to find a way to enable the reader to feel nostalgic too by sort of referencing all these sort of older things. But the reason why I was specifically Elvis is because my mom is a huge Elvis fan, so that was kind of a little Easter egg for her.
That's great. Sometimes writers who are sort of constructing this world of time travel, they can get bogged down in the minutiae of it. But that didn't happen for you. In fact, you spent a lot of time interviewing upholsterers.
Yeah. So once I figured out how the time travel worked, it was that it was one way only. You can go forward and you can't come back. That sort of sorted that out. So then there were other sort of world details that I needed to focus on. So Polly is an upholsterer, and that's sort of why she winds up being in demand in the future, because they're trying to restore old hotels for this kind of tourism gambit. And so that was something that she's doing. So I actually interviewed a very lovely lady at Maple Leaf Furnishings in Toronto who showed me all the ins and outs of how you upholster a chair, and that was very useful.
And that's where really, if you want to ground something as fantastical as time travel, if you want to ground us in that reality, you have to give us reality, right? So it's those aspects of writing that really allow us to buy into this world where time travel is possible.
Yeah, to make it really specific.
Would you call this a science fiction novel?
Actually, the way that I think about it is science fiction is kind of the premise, but really what the science fiction enabled me to do was to talk about things that feel kind of otherworldly or illogical, things like how can we miss a homeland we've never been to, or how can we be nostalgic for something that's still here. So I was sort of using it in a different way, in my own way, but yeah.
And as you were telling these stories about immigration and nostalgia and family and longing, did you feel that push and pull about, am I going too far into this world of science fiction? Do I need to tether myself to something more real? As a writer, what were some of the challenges for you?
I think what I thought about a lot was, wanting to make it real. I was really interested in sort of thinking about what if time travel was the way travel is in our world. So it does wind up being very much about paperwork and very much about bureaucracy. Like Polly is constantly filling out these forms that feel like tax forms with all the little boxes. So that was something that really worked, and that was something that was important for me because, like I said, in the end, because I wanted it to be that analogy for immigration, it was actually very sort of grounded in the real. So that was something that helped me to keep sight of that, because things can get really outlandish.
Well, the fact that you were able to do that and that you did something for your mom as well with the Easter eggs for Elvis Presley, I've bought in. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Please come back when you've got another book.
Oh, I will.
We really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.